and welcome to Money Talks. I'm your host, Miss Rufo. Joining me today are Algonquin seniors ARHS Rathor and Meredith Lapidus. A recent report from the Global Entrepreneurship magazine sponsored by Babson College finds that 27 million working-age Americans, nearly 14%, are starting or running new businesses. New research from Junior Achievement and Ernst Young shows that 41% of teens would also consider entrepreneurship as a career option versus working a traditional job. Additionally, 6% of teen boys have already started a business, while 4% of girls have done the same. Starting a business at any age is a daunting task, but teenagers looking to start a business face even greater challenges than the adult counterpart. Today, we are joined by entrepreneur, founder of Take Note, and Algonquin senior, Ethan Cardillo, who will take us through his journey of turning his love of fashion into a business venture. Thank you for joining us, Ethan. It's great to have you with us.
Thank you for having me, of course. This is awesome. I'm just really glad to be here.
Awesome. Well, Meredith is going to start us off today, so go for it, Meredith.
So Ethan, could you tell us about your business? What inspired you to start it?
Inspiration to start, really I was sitting in math class one day, 10th grade, I had Mr. Galvin, and next to me was my friend Alex Cheney. And we always joked about starting these things together, businesses, whether it be one thing or another, and one day we joked about fashion. And the more we thought about it, it was a very real possibility. It's a very easy thing to enter, you buy a sweatshirt, you make a design, you put it on the sweatshirt, and then you sell it. That seems tangible to us, so that's what we did. About my business, it's really just a clothing brand. I also do, it's a skateboarding brand, so I do skateboards and stuff, and it's centered around that culture.
That's really cool.
Thank you.
So how did you choose your company name?
Well, Mr. Galvin always kept saying, take note of this on the board, take note of that. And one day he said it 3 times in a row, I was like, you know what, that sounds pretty cool. And never told him that. Probably should give him a check or something someday. But for now, no one needs to know.
Well, now everybody knows.
Everybody knows now. That's okay.
So hopefully Mr. Galvin gets a nice little Christmas present this holiday season.
20
there you go, 20 years.
Check in the mail.
So you said your audience is more of the skateboard culture. I believe that, is that known as streetwear?
It's a majority of it, you could say.
Okay, and so what is the target market for that particular type of fashion?
So like I said, skateboarders, but in terms of age demographic, it's ranging from, just even kids from like 12 to even 30 and stuff, just anyone who's in that range. Mostly teenagers though, I would say, hence why I've been able to do so well.
Mm-hmm. Nice. Who is your biggest competitor? Do you have any in the school or in the region?
Competitor? I've had kids say they're gonna also start a brand. I remember after I started and we put out our first collection and things, we had some kids start saying how they're gonna start their own thing. And nothing ever came of it. There was nothing else that really started up. But in terms of competitors, when you're this small, it's not like you have anyone like directly competing against, Mm-hmm. It's kind of like the world against you. Like I still email stores and stuff to ask if they wanna buy stuff, things like that. I guess my biggest competitor is I'm in a group of other smaller brands, and we're very nice to each other. We all shout each other out on social media and stuff, but I guess in the end they're my competitors because it's we all target the same people.
That makes
sense. So what are some of your favorite designer brands, or what are the current trends today? So a lot of my inspiration comes from skateboarding brands that I like. So Supreme is a huge one that I think 90% of people know. Not many people know it's a skateboarding brand, but that's what they started around. That's where they are now. It's all about skateboarding. So things like that. Another brand is like Palace. Even celebrities today like Frank Ocean, people like that who I consider to dress well. I always take inspiration from songs, from movies, art, anything. That's great.
So when you create you have a great variety of shirts, t-shirts, sweatshirts. Mm-hmm. Before you create those, do you sketch out your design? How do you go about getting to the final product?
So it all starts when I start making a product. I look at the season. So right now it was fall, and I think, what do people want to wear in fall? My first thought this season was flannels. So to sketch it out, I have Photoshop, so I make what's called mock-ups, and I go through maybe a dozen things before I figure out one thing I want to make, and then you have to go through patterns of the flannel, designs of a tag, all these little things, like even down to the buttons. So to get to that point, it's just doing any idea that comes to your head, and then eventually one sticks. But sometimes there's 30 to 40 discarded items per collection that I just have stored somewhere else for later, or never to be used.
How long do those designs usually take to make, or like the final product?
Really, it's just thinking of it, you know? Some days it can take me a day to think of something and then 10 minutes to make it. It can take me a month to think of something good, and then I make it. It doesn't really ever take long to make something unless I'm drawing something out, hand-drawn, and then putting it on something, but really it just varies. It's all about the thinking to me that takes the longest, I think.
Yeah. I assume social media is a big part of your business as well, right?
Yeah, no, for sure.
How do you advertise, and how do you incorporate social media into your advertising plan?
The biggest help for me in terms of advertising on social media was Reddit. They have very specific communities. Like there's this one called Streetwear Startup, meant for smaller brands. And you can post there, and everyone who goes there knows it's going to be a smaller brand. And Instagram and stuff, and there's all these communities that help each other out with these kind of things. They share manufacturers, they share how to do this or that. So advertising there has helped a lot. When I first started, I would say 90% of my sales came from in the school, but now it's the opposite, where they all come from out of state or out of country. So I'm shipping quite a bit now.
Who manufactures your product? How did you get that entity to manufacture your product? Because that is a daunting task, really, to find somebody that will create this stuff, and you're not creating thousands of pieces. So what did you do?
So when I first started, I just Googled local places that screen print and embroider, found a shop pretty close by, and I bought 20 hoodies, and then I made a design. I went to them and said, "Can you embroider this?" I found myself being more and happy with local places. So for t-shirts and hoodies and stuff where I buy the blank first and then print on it, I have a place in New York City that actually does it for me, and then they ship it out to here. And then for my custom things like flannels and socks and stuff that are fully custom made, it's all from China.
But how did you, as a kid, figure out I am going to go to China to manufacture this product? I mean, did you just Google how,
Well,
let's go?
The communities I was in, people who have done it before, they gave me a lot of tips, and they can even direct me to some manufacturers they've used. People are actually very secretive about their manufacturers because it takes so long to find one that you can really work with. So some won't share with you at all. I won't share with certain people with my stuff. But it's really just asking the people who have already done it and learning from people who are bigger than you.
So what are your plans for the future in your company? Do you think in 10 years you'll still be working at this company and trying to grow?
I have no idea whatsoever. I ask myself sometimes, is this what I want to do for the rest of my life? And a lot of times it's no. I of course want to do this as a side thing, but I don't know if this is what I want to do as my life's calling. Would I like to continue the brand in the future? Yeah, I don't see any stopping anytime soon. Yeah.
Great.
Have you been treated poorly because of your age while trying to establish your business? You talked a bit about it before, but can you describe on that a little bit more?
So I started it when I was 15. And like in the communities I talked about, as long as what you're doing is genuine and good and you're trying, you're not just blatantly ripping off other people, people will respect you. And actually I think my age gained me more respect than I would have if I was 20 or 25. People are very much helpful to you, and in the end, if you're making good stuff, no one's going to care about your age. It really doesn't matter. But if anything, I think it helped me.
Yeah. Well, because you are of that age for your demographic. So you're creating apparel for them. You are them. So I would imagine they trust your opinion.
Yeah, no, it's definitely helped. Being in school and being able to talk to people directly has 100% helped me get sales and build an image.
I just have to, what about pricing? How do you determine how much you're going to sell your product for, and do you take into consideration other things like costs and what your competitors' prices are?
So pricing is a very big thing, I think, for a brand. I'll tell you some manufacturing costs. So for a hoodie, I used Champion blanks for a long time because I like their quality, I like the fit, I like the color. But they cost $18 a blank, plus getting them done with whatever I wanted to do was typically $10 to $12, ending up being around the $30 range. And for a long time, I sold them for 40. And that's not a very big profit margin, but you know, being in high school, kids don't have a ton of money to spend. So it creates the opportunity to make sales, and it's worked perfectly. Recently, I've increased the price just because I've grown a lot and I'm using higher quality things now. But to determine price, all I do is I take how much it costs me to make and how much I look at other brands and see what they're selling it for and base it around there, because if you do it too cheap, like as cheap as possible, it's gonna look cheap, you know? You wanna create like an image that you wanna live around. So like for t-shirts, I charge $25 and I'll be honest, they cost me $8. So things like that.
But it's the brand. It's just like Nike, just like any of these other big companies.
And
Under
they still
Armour.
Sell.
Right.
So.
It is that brand name
Yeah.
that you're paying for.
Do you give friends and family discounts, or?
Actually, I offer all the time, but I have really good friends and family. They offer to pay full price all the time.
That's nice.
I really appreciate it. I have given discounts if people need it. And I often give free stuff. Like I have friends come over sometimes, and I have a room full of all the stuff, and they sometimes just pick stuff off, and I give it to them for really cheap.
What's the benefit of that for you?
They get to wear it. I don't know.
Well, yeah, I mean,
Making my friends happy.
it's true.
In the end,
Happiness
that's what life's about.
and a little bit of advertising for you
Yeah.
too. The
Yeah,
more people
keep
that
the
wear
product
it,
out
right?
there.
Of course.
More people that see the brand name.
So what was your biggest challenge as a business owner?
My biggest challenge, it has to be staying motivated, because there's no one to tell me you have to do this, you have to do that. It's just me sitting at a computer at 12 o'clock at night trying to think of something cool to come up with. And a lot of the time it can get very hard, you know, if you make consistently things that you don't like, it's just like you really lose motivation. So the hardest thing for me is just staying motivated. Keeping on a schedule, especially for the seasons, is very hard, because sometimes there's things like the manufacturer doesn't pull through, or shipping gets lost, or something like that. So I would say staying motivated is definitely one of my biggest struggles.
Now, if we go back to the pricing, just for a second.
Okay.
How do you think you could get your pricing to be a little bit lower for your customers? Do you think you could offer lower pricing, or do you think you are happy where you are?
I mean, I could always offer lower pricing, but at this point where I consistently sell out most things, in my head I don't see why I would do that. It sounds greedy, but you know, it's a business. I have to pay for the next collection, because each time I increase, you know, how much I'm making, the quality of what I'm making. So I need the money to keep, you know, growing. But to lower stuff, I mean, I have sales every once in a while, you know.
Right.
I do have sales. I have Christmas sales. I didn't have a Black Friday sale this year because I have nothing to sell, but you know, I'll have that, or I'll even do bundles. Like sometimes people DM me on Instagram and they'll just be like, they'll just mention something, and I'll say I'll throw in a free shirt if you order this or that. So it's really just connecting with your customers too.
That's a good point. One more about Supreme. So Supreme only launches a limited amount of clothing.
Yeah.
Do you model your sales based on Supreme? Do you restrict your amount to
I do
generate
restrict my
hype?
amount, yeah. I have people ask me for restocks. I remember the first hoodies I sold out in the first night. People were constantly asking for restock, but I said no because I wanted them to buy the next collection. So it was a smart move in my opinion, and I still do that. And yeah, I don't do restocks. It's a pain too, so I just don't want to do it.
Right.
So tell me about your sponsorships, or if you have any, or if you've asked anybody to sponsor your clothing brand.
I've been offered to have collabs with other brands, some of them smaller than me, some of them bigger than me. For a sponsorship, the biggest thing to a sponsorship is I'm being put in stores for the next collection. Not anything big, just like smaller brick and mortar stores that are skateboarding shops in Worcester. But when someone comes up with a collab, sometimes it's scary, because it's just, you know, art is one of those things that I don't really want to work with anybody else on. I find that really hard for me. But in terms of sponsorships, the biggest thing I have is just being in stores, and yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
What advice would you give to other teens who want to establish a business?
My biggest advice would be just learn your market, you know, that's huge. Because there are hundreds of people doing the same thing you are. I am definitely not the first one doing what I'm doing. And I've seen dozens and dozens of brands fail, you know, but you just got to research your market, make sure you know what you're doing, and do it well. Like don't try to do what everybody else is doing. You got to find your own way.
Thanks. Now, ARHS is a YouTube giant.
I know. I've seen it. Don't worry.
And I didn't know if you also utilized YouTube to get your brand out there.
I like put videos up there. Like if I have an ad for my website, I sometimes embed a video into it. I just I have to put it on YouTube, or actually I use Vimeo, but I don't use it to actively promote anything. Everything's there, but not to promote anything.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and earlier when you said like motivation, I really understood that because when you're doing something for so long and nobody's telling you to do anything, it's just like coming up with ideas too. It's like it's difficult.
Sometimes,
I understand that.
Yeah, sometimes staring at the same 5 items I made for a collection for 4 months straight. At the end when I put it out, I'm like, I don't even like want to look at these anymore. Mm-hmm. It gets really tough sometimes.
Yeah.
I had a really important question to ask, as somebody in the audience put this up on the board yesterday in class, and I wanted to make sure I asked this to you. And it's about your website analytics. Mm-hmm. Do you use them? Do you look at them?
I do.
And how do you use them to improve your business?
I do use analytics. I use a service called Big Cartel, which is just a way to make a website, and I'm moving to Shopify because it allows more analytics. Actually, is pretty much the reason why I'm moving. But it allows you to see like all these things, like how many visitors, how many sales, how much you made per month, and I use it to grow. Well, I guess I really just see if it is growing, you know. And every time it does grow pretty well, but you can also see in the months where like I haven't done anything in a while, like all the like numbers drop off and stuff. And then once I release something, everything spikes up. So I do keep track of that, and it's an easy way to keep track of how much money is being filtered through the site and stuff. Mm-hmm. And it's a good way to see how many visitors too. So if I put an ad somewhere, like Reddit, like on Reddit or Instagram, if I notice like a big spike in numbers, then clearly it was a good way to do it.
Now you're paying for these ads on Instagram?
I have paid for ads on Instagram.
Have. Okay.
Really didn't do much. Okay. I had to pay for more.
And what do you think your best source of advertising is?
I think Reddit, because the community is so like specific to like streetwear startup, like starting up businesses like that and streetwear, that people like go there looking to buy stuff from smaller brands. That like it's just a really great spot to advertise it.
Good. I think we have some questions from the studio audience.
Really?
So if we could see from the audience, we could get some questions.
Hi, I'm Jake. And I was just wondering if you had any interest in collaborating with other small brands anytime soon, or even working with any other local small businesses.
So in terms of that, I'm always open to the idea of collaborating, but it has to be a brand that I feel is gonna pull their side and, you know, help me. Because there are brands who have approached me that would definitely not help me, and partnerships too. What was the second half of that question?
Any like local stores?
Yeah, no, of course. It's great to be put in a local store because there's no risk for me because they just buy the stock immediately, and then they're the ones that have to sell it. Mm-hmm. So there's no risk for me, and I like seeing my stuff in the store.
How often have you been in a store, in a local store?
Just once, but now for the next collection, I'm going to be actually put in stores more often.
Good.
So,
very good. Does anyone else have a question?
I'm Sarah, and I was wondering, are there any large retail brands or retail stores that you one day hope that your brands will be in?
That's a good question, because I've always felt like putting like an Urban Outfitters or something felt kind of cheap. I don't know. Not cheap, but like selling out. So I don't know if I'd ever want to do that, because I look at my favorite brands like Supreme, and they have their own stores, but the stores are put in a very high-end stuff. Like, they're not in Urban, they're not in all these other stores. So I don't think I would. If I would keep it independent, that's what I would want to do.
Does anybody else?
Hi, I'm Michael. I was wondering, what's your favorite season to make a collection for?
That's a good question. Definitely fall or winter, just because I like wearing things like flannels or jackets, and it's hoodie season, and who doesn't like a good hoodie? Like in spring and summer, it's just like I get sick of making a t-shirt. I have to make like 3 or 4 different designs. So just like fall, being able to make different things, like even candles, something like that is super cool. So I enjoy that. Yeah,
that's cool.
Does anyone else have a question? No audience questions? Do we have any more questions on the panel? Harris, I just want to ask you a question. We're just gonna leave Ethan just for a second, okay? But come back, because again, as YouTube, king, giant, you are sponsored. Do you have sponsors on YouTube? People that?
Yeah, I've had a couple.
You've had a couple. Yeah. How for the people who are watching this show, who want to be future YouTubers, how do you get sponsored?
Well, first you have to like build up your channel. Obviously, put videos out there. If you can, like try to find friends, or like I found like a friend who already had a YouTube channel, and he like kind of shouted me out, like had me like build up my brand a little bit, and then I like just kept posting videos, and people liked them, and then like people started emailing me about sponsorships, and you just gotta find the right one.
Mm-hmm. And now, is it once they sponsor you, do you get this? Do you get a check every month, or?
It's like it depends. Sometimes it's like how many views you get on a video. Sometimes it's like how much of the product they buy, because of your like link you put in in the description of the channel and comments. Yeah. I
just find it fascinating that you are. I mean, teenpreneurs, everyone makes fun of that word, but the teen entrepreneur, and you have time to go to school, study, have friends, have a social life, and then have a business at the same time, which I find really cool. If I could go back to Ethan for a second. Have you ever seen anybody reselling your clothes?
I know that when I sold my my Lunar New Year collection 2 years ago, someone bought the last crew neck and they immediately resold it to somebody else who was like, no, I want that, I'll give you more than that. I've seen people sell their clothes for just like less just because they didn't want it anymore. I remember I saw this kid walking down the hall in the first hoodie I've ever made, no idea who it was. I was like, where did this kid get the hoodie? So I went up to him one day and I asked him, and turns out it was someone's brother who I knew.
Okay.
So things like that, they get passed through. I've seen people end up with hoodies that I have no idea how, but yeah.
It has to be cool just walking around town, seeing, like you said, people maybe that you don't know wearing your brand. I
remember I posted an ad once for my fall collection a year ago, and some guy he took the design off the shirt and like cropped it out and then put it on a shirt and resold it off a different website. And I posted it, and he commented, "No, just buy the shirt here." And I thought that was kind of funny,
But pretty much, it's illegal. Yes,
but.
Did you take any legal action?
No, it's too much work.
Now, do you have your brand name trademarked?
I do, yes.
Okay, good. So because you could go after that.
I could go after him.
Individual.
But no, I just had his comment deleted, and
I
doubt anyone would buy it.
That's happened to me too. Somebody just like literally copied my whole video and posted it.
It happens.
And, it happens.
It happens. It's called, you could be paying your parents endless amounts of money by taking those people to court and getting what's yours. That's your stuff.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, like, they got more views on that video than me.
See, that would make me really upset.
I was pretty upset. I'm not gonna lie.
Well, you got to do something about it.
Too much work.
That's what I'm saying. It's too much work.
Go.
So I'm a big fan of like apps like Depop.
Yeah, of course.
Why didn't you think about starting in like a smaller sort of app or business to sell your clothes at first?
So like Depop and Grailed, I use them all the time for buying and selling personal clothes, like Supreme and stuff. But like I know Depop has like sort of like a store kind of thing to it. Grailed is just for reselling. But in my head, like I want to make a strong impression at first, and having your own website is really great because you have to customize literally everything. And building my own website was great too. One of the biggest things I love about my brand is being able to learn stuff on the way. Like I learned graphic design, I learned how to web design, things like these that I just get to learn. So, it's something that I wanted to do was make my own website. And yeah, I think having your own place is really professional and it's a good image.
Yeah, bigger content creation. Yeah. Nice.
Did you have anybody behind you, helping you, so to speak, when you started to open up and started selling?
I started with a partner. Our investment money came from my dad, actually. I designed everything, put everything out, and then I showed him, like, I can do this, like, and he was behind me 100% because he believed in me. And so, yeah, that's how we started, was with my dad's help in terms of money. And then from there, it's just been me and my partner, who I'm no longer with, but yeah, for now, no, it's just me.
Did you pay your dad back yet?
I did pay my dad.
That's what I
Yes,
like
don't
to
worry.
hear. Wow,
Yeah.
that's great. Do we have any other questions for Ethan? Ethan, I really appreciate you coming to visit.
This is great, thank you.
You know, you have great business sense. I think Harris asked maybe what kind of advice would you give? Did you ask that?
I think
thought you
it was
did.
Meredith.
Meredith, okay. So you did that. What do you think? What kind of traits, before we go, what kind of traits make a good leader? What do you think? So tell all these young minds out there who may want to open up a business in the future, and we didn't ask, do you have employees?
I have people come over and help me sew, and then I have models and people who help me pack. Do I pay any of them? No. I buy them dinner.
There it is.
Yeah.
What would you think makes a good leader, a good business leader?
A good leader. I think one of the biggest things that people are afraid of is being decisive and standing your foot and knowing what you want. That's one of the biggest problems I had was when I was partnered. I tried too much to make it work both ways, but like sometimes you need to take a foot forward and say, this is what I want, this is how we're going to do it. You need to trust yourself a lot too, I think. It's really just working with your people, but also knowing your place as the leader.
Sounds good?
Yeah.
Well, thank you.
Thank you.
Everybody, for joining us on Money Talks. We'll see you next time. Thank you.